Hey guys, and welcome to Lunchtime Live. Hope you guys had a good week, and I'm trying something a little different this week. We'll see how well I do. I spend a lot of time in quiet, and so worship music, any music, but any music with words. Hi Amber, I did see your message, by the way. I'll get back with you afterwards. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about this. We'll talk about this. We're going to take a quick pause. So, not right there, baby. Come over here. Come over here. I don't want to step on you by accident. That'd be nice. Yeah, right there. That's lovely. Thank you. Amber and I were having a conversation about the tallits and the fact that the silk, if you have straight hair, especially, has a tendency to kind of slide off of your head. So I'm gonna grab this one. This is one that Margie made me, by the way. And if you guys aren't familiar with Margie, she's from Unhindered and Unashamed. And so, yeah, what I have found, Amber, is that some of it depends on how you have it weighted. I mean, like where you have it sitting. Because of the oversize, it does have some weight back there, and so it will slide back. For me, I end up putting my hands here all the time, so it doesn't become problematic for me. We have done some that have, this particular one that Margie made me is in the 19 mummy weight charmeuse silk, so it's like a satiny finish, and it's a little bit heavier. And so I have done some that are our regular tallits, but they have like a band of this like up in the head area. And the thing about that is that because of the fact that it's a silk, we can still do the Hebrew on it, but it does add a little bit of extra weight right up here at the top. And so I don't know whether that would help or not, whether that would make a difference, but I tell you what, my friend Elisa has one that was created that way. Did she just join us? Hi, Becky. And so I will try and make a note to check with Elisa and try hers to see whether that helps to weight it slightly on the head. Anyway, how was that for an answer, right? We'll just answer on the live stream. Why not? Everyone else can join in the conversation. Okay, so that was a little impromptu show and tell of Margie's tallit. And I actually made the zit-zits on that. She does the prayer shawls, and she has, on occasion, commissioned me to do the zit-zits for her. So anyway, okay, let's see. Get myself back on track. Oh, yes. So I'm doing something a little bit different this week. And yeah. Sorry, I'm giggling at both of you. I have oh yes, so I spend a lot of time in the quiet, and so any music that has words, even if it's worship music, I find distracting. Because I spend a lot of time just, in sort of a quiet, meditative place. And so I typically, you'll notice, do instrumental music as background music. Part of that is just, if I don't do background music, it sounds really quiet when I do the live stream. And so it can have this like awkward lack of noise, especially when we get to the prayer part. So I try to do background music. I typically do music to pray by. I post it every week, but I don't know how much you guys have paid attention. This is just a guy, music to pray by is just a guy who, he just is a very gifted pianist. And so he started doing these, podcasts, and he, put out a couple of little videos, and this is just like his thing that he does on the side. I think he works in IT or something like that. Anyway, and so there's a particular podcast of his that was a favorite of mine, podcast 43, and this is like, I was still working in corporate America when I first got this, so that would be back like 2008 or earlier. So it's like 10 years ago. And I still am in love with the same podcast. So that's typically the one that you hear in the background. But today, I have music that has words. So we're going to see if that ends up throwing me off. It's pretty quiet right now, so you can't totally hear it, but I can hear it. And so this is some of the songs from a new album that just came out, Live at the Well. I'm assuming it's Live at the Well. It might be Live at the Well, but I'm assuming it's Live at the Well. And it's from a church that a young lady that I used to know that was at the worship school that used to be at the church that we used to be at, they just released it. And so these are the songs that she's featured in. So anyway, all the information is up in the thingy along with a link. And for those of you who follow the Dyed4you Ministries blog and get our prophetic nuggets via email, you will have a link to it on iTunes should you be interested. So anyway, I'm not advertising, just so you guys know. When I find something I like, I want to tell people about it. And then when I tell you guys about it, inevitably people go, where do you find that? So I'm just giving you the information if you want it. This is not a sales pitch. Just letting you know. So anyway, it's funny because people respond differently to that. I got a message from someone who, I don't know where she's located, but the message was in French, asking me to stop advertising to her and this was on the Dyed4you Art page. And I was like, and first of all, I try not to do anything advertising. I will share stuff. People will ask questions. And so sometimes I preemptively try to answer those questions. But anyway, I guess the person must not understand how Facebook works and that they can just unfollow the feed. But anyhow, okay. So I'm going to see if I can focus while I have music going on. If it becomes problematic, I'll tell you later. So my show and tell today is, I don't know how many of you guys follow our Dyed4you page. So not the Dyed4you Ministries page, but the Dyed4you page. And for those of you who don't know, I was the sole person creating silks for Dyed4you. I mean, I would have, friends from the team who would come to visit who would occasionally make them with me, but the only salaried person, the only person making an income from it for years and years and years, up until like 2013, I guess it was. And in 2013, I actually was on staff at the church that we were at the time, and I was putting in, it turned into like 70-hour work weeks there, because you know how it is when you're in ministry. And so I couldn't do Dyed4you by myself anymore. And that was when Larissa came on, okay? And so for a few years, she was the only person really doing it. I was still obviously on the team and would answer questions for her, but I really had handed off the baby and she was taking care of it. And then back in 2016, God told me, okay, it's time to step back into this. And Larissa was very gracious and was like, come on back, we'll figure it out. And so kind of, how things have sort of come out is that, she will generally be the one managing the Dyed4you page. I'm over here on Dyed4you Ministries. Some of that was just like, division of labor, because who answers what and all of that stuff. And so anyway, so we've kind of, found our way of working, but we are ministry partners. And she has just been such a joy to have. She has so much just energy, and just she's so in love with the Lord, and she's a neat lady. Not to mention the fact that she's great at sewing, which comes in really handy because she does all the tricky sewing for me. And so we partner well together. Let me just put it that way. So anyway, so she is starting to go live regularly. So kind of like what this is, she's doing it over on the Dyed4you page for those of you who are interested. So first of all, if you don't follow the other page, you might want to, because if you like our silks and you like seeing that kind of stuff, you're going to see similar kind of stuff over there. I know a lot of you follow both. And it's been interesting because, I've been kind of building this page up because we, have like, I don't know, over 3,000 followers over there. And when I first started actually actively managing this page back in 2016, I think we had like 500 people. And so, I know that there's overlap, but I also know that we've kind of ended up appealing to slightly different audiences in some cases too. So anyway, go follow her page, but she is going to start going live regularly. And so she did it this past week, and I think she's doing Tuesdays at 2:00. And so this is just like, I have no idea what she's saying here. I'm actually going to mute it, but I just wanted to show you. This will be my show and tell today. Hold on, I got to turn down the brightness so you can see it. But dun da da da. So yay! Hi, Miss Mary. I'm gonna peek and see who else is here. Hi, Leslie. Good to see my sister here. Yay! Anyways, so Tuesdays at 2, you'll be able to catch Miss Larissa live. All right, let's see. Turn that off. Go back. Trying to get back into all of my pages so I know where we're headed today. All right, let's go here. Go back to my list. Okay, Larissa Live. Oh yes, reminder, and I didn't put this in the notes, but just a reminder, I am out of town in December for a portion for like 10 days. And so I will not be shipping from the 19th of December to the 27th. So if you are purchasing things to give as gifts, you are going to want to make sure that they are ordered in time to be shipped by the 18th, because that will be my last shipping day. So again, the 18th, that's my last shipping day. Just making sure everybody knows. Okay, so today's topic, since I've managed to ramble for like 10 minutes, is spiritual expectation. And some weeks it's easier for me to know what we're going to be talking about here, because if I release a new art piece, then I know that's going to be the topic. And this week I didn't feel led to release a piece, and so I was like, okay, God, what do you want to talk about? and so he had me go into the prophetic nuggets, because sometimes I have like extra ones, because if we're birthing stuff for silks, I'll get kind of a backlog of ones that are waiting to be posted. And so I went in there and he highlighted one to me, and which I'll read here in just a minute. And it's called "My Power is Ready and Available." And if you saw this morning's, it was also talking about his power. And again, last week was also talking about like stirring up your faith, being in that place of expectation. And so this is kind of, I think, just a continuation of what he's trying to say with that. And so he highlighted this particular nugget. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and start by reading that. And so this is called, again, "My Power is Ready and Available." And it's based off of Mark 16, verse 18. And this is out of the Passion Translation. "They will be supernaturally protected from snakes and from drinking anything poisonous. They will lay their hands on the sick and heal them." And the word that he gave me is, "Beloved, be my hands and feet. As my spirit prompts you, move. Trust that my power is ready and available when you're operating in my will, not in your own strength, but in mine, for I am able. You have nothing to fear as you live submitted to me, for I am with you and moving in every circumstance. I am good and I am able, so make ready. A move of my kingdom is afoot." And so part of what he was talking to me about, so again, last week we were talking about stirring up our faith. This week, what he was highlighting to me was the concept of just like that spiritual expectation. And he drew kind of an interesting connection for me, because, you know, I often will include links to something that he's had me share on my personal blog. For those of you who haven't seen it, MeghanW.com, I post like, you know, different Bible studies and devotionals, or, you know, sometimes I'll do like little videos with little teaching nuggets or whatever. So he highlighted one that's called the journey versus the destination points. And I was like, how is this connected? Because the concept that I share there is basically not living in a place of like waiting for something that's out there, right? So for a lot of people, like when you're single, your destination point is you want to be married, okay? And so you spend your journey just waiting for this point. So rather than than embracing what's happening right now, even though you have an expectation for what's coming, rather than, learning what you need to in this moment and staying focused on what God is doing in this moment, you spend all your time waiting on what's coming. And, but the thing is, what I share in this is that basically, that's an illusion, because the moment that you reach that destination point, there's a new destination point. So once you get married, you want to have kids, or once you want to get once you get a job, you want to get a promotion. Once you get whatever it is, fill in the blank, whatever your destination point is, there's always one that's further. And so if you spend all your time focused on your destination points, what ends up happening is you're in a constant state of dissatisfaction because you're not there yet. And so rather than being able to be in a place of contentment with joyful expectation of what's coming, but happy with where you are now, you end up miserable because you're constantly waiting for something that's always out of reach. And so I was like, how is that connected? And then all of a sudden I realized the same thing holds true with like a spiritual expectation. And so part of this is learning to hold things loosely. So, you know, yes, you're praying for God to heal you, or for God to do, you know, to restore a marriage, or for God to, you know, bring your kids, you know, back to the Lord, or fill in the blank, whatever the destination point is. Yes, it's good to stay in a place of expectation for that. Just like we were talking about last week. Stir up your faith. God is able, God is able, God is able. But we still have to surrender it to God and trust his perfect timing. And so it's not going to work. It's not going to be a healthy thing, you know, spiritually and emotionally for you if you stay in a place of like, it's supposed to happen, God, and it's supposed to happen right now. Because if he doesn't move the way you think he's supposed to move, then you're upset with God, you feel like he's failed you, and so then you end up into this whole suite of negative emotions rather than just trusting that he is faithful, he is sovereign, and his timing is perfect. And so this becomes kind of a juggling act, because what you're doing is you need to stay in expectation, but also stay in a place of contentment. And so it's kind of like, and again, I think I gave this example even last week where we were talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And when they were about to get thrown into the fiery furnace, what they said is, our God is able. But even if he doesn't do this, right? Even if he doesn't rescue us, he's still sovereign, okay? We're not going to bow. And so it's staying in that place of, I'm expectant, but I'm holding it with an open hand. So I know that God is able, and I trust him, and I trust that he can move, and I'm asking him to move, and I'm hoping that he will move, and I know he's able to move, but at the same time, I trust that he knows best. And so I am just staying in this place of, you know, just openness to his plan, right? And so all of this is about releasing control, right? And also releasing our understanding of what we want it to look like. Because, you know, there could be a very good reason why God hasn't brought you your husband yet, or God hasn't brought you your promotion yet, or whatever. You may not be ready. They may not be ready. I mean, you don't know what's happening. But what you know is God is good. What you know is God is faithful, okay? And so as you stay in a place of just trust and holding with an open hand, then you can just rejoice in him even as you stay in a place of expectancy. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm not seeing anybody comment, so I can't tell whether literally nobody's saying anything or whether or whether my comments aren't showing up. So if you're talking to me, just know I can't see you. Anyway, so the art piece that he kind of tied to today is called Clothes with Power from on High. And so he is just wanting to remind us, like, we are like prepared to operate in his authority and in his power. So even as we stay, thank you, Mary, for posting something so I can see that it's still coming. That's right. Disappointment is not possible in a place of contentment. And it's hard. I mean, again, this is a balancing act, because it's to be expectant, you have to be hopeful. And we know that hope deferred makes a heart sick. And so again, it's this place of like stirring up your faith, but keeping your hand open, stirring up your faith, but keeping your hand open. And so it's a juggling act. And honestly, I'm not sure that anybody can maintain it perfectly. And so I also would encourage you to extend grace to yourself when you have moments where you realize that you're in a place of discontentment, because it's likely to happen. The question is, what do you do when you find yourself in that place? Okay, so that's part of it, is being self-aware enough to catch, oh my gosh, my heart is not in the right place right now. I am in discontentment right now. I am not trusting that God's timing is perfect, because I am frustrated that he has not done what I felt like he said he was going to do. And so, you know, it's staying in that place. And so remembering that we are clothed with power from on high. That's this art piece. Sorry, Becky, for the ouches that are in it, but I hope that it's an encouragement too. I honestly had no idea where he was going with this exactly today. So This is interesting. I'm preaching to myself here too. There is, and again, so this is Clothed with Power from on High, one of our Dyed4you Art pieces. There was a miracle that I felt like God said that he was going to do. And this is, it's like a decade ago. And he hasn't done it, even still. And that's been hard. And I had prophetic words about it. I mean, like, over and over and over, people who didn't know each other would prophesy the same thing over and over and over. And it hasn't come to pass yet. And that's been frustrating. I mean, that's been frustrating. And it has reached a point, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that, there weren't moments where I would say, God, don't give me another word about this. I don't want to hear another word about this because I'm struggling with not being angry that you haven't done what you've said you're going to do. And again, like, you think about it. Think about Abraham, right? Because this is how he ended up with Ishmael. Because God promised, and Abraham believed, but, that... It's almost like that belief kind of gets stretched thin, right? And so when his belief was stretched thin, his wife comes to him and says, maybe God meant that we were supposed to do it this way, right? Because that would kind of fulfill it, right? So you can help him along and help him do it. I'm just going to tell you right now, one of the most valuable lessons that we learned from Ishmael is you don't have to help God make a prophetic word come to pass. Prophetic words come to pass because God makes them happen, okay? That doesn't mean you don't operate in obedience. Yes, you operate in obedience, but whenever you find yourself in a place where you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this thing so that God is suddenly able to fulfill it. Like, yeah, that's never a good idea. That's just not a good idea because it frequently ends to like these, kind of spiritual Ishmaels, right? Where you're like, here, I'm going to help you. And then you end up making a bigger mess, right? But again, like Abraham was in that place of stretched faith where, he probably was struggling with the hope deferred, with that longing for, because when you're in this place of expectation, there becomes this longing, right? And so he's been in this place of longing that's hovering there forever and ever and ever and ever. And you're like, maybe God forgot, right? I mean, come on, we've all been there. We've all thought that, right? But, again, what he's saying today is just like, stay in that place of trusting him. Don't get so obsessed with the destination points that you lose sight of the journey. He's doing something today. He's doing something right now. And so since he's not doing the destination point today, I mean, he may be for you, in which case, hallelujah, that's amazing. But if he's not doing the destination point for you today, ask him, what are you doing in the journey today? What do I need to learn today in this journey? Because he's at work in us all the time, right? And so rather than being ticked that he's not doing this thing out here, ask him, what are you doing? Like, what am I missing? Is what you're doing stretching my faith, increasing the capacity that I have to trust you? Like, what character are you building in me today? What are you doing? Okay, clearly I'm in preach mode. I'm going back because I see you guys talking again. I'm glad that it's bearing witness. Sorry that it hurts. I know I saw that one already, but I'm still commenting. Yeah, I think we all struggle with this, Becky, because so many of us are just waiting for stuff. Multitask, yes, which is actually, okay, I wonder if this is part of what he's talking about here, but multitasking actually doesn't exist. It's rapid refocusing. I read an article on this once, and you can't actually do two things at once, okay? So it's just kind of like your brain. If you think of your brain like a computer, the computer actually doesn't do two things. It does one thing back and forth like really quickly, and so that's actually what we're doing when we multitask. So yes, we're keeping an eye on the destination point, and then we're focusing back on the journey. Destination, journey. And so it's that juggling, right? It's the balancing act between the two. Yeah, that's great. Oh, Becky, I'm sure we all have created many Ishmaels. But again, even with Ishmael, even with the fact that he birthed an Ishmael, like God still used that, remember? Because God came and he had plans for that nation as well. Oh, Mary, you're so precious. I understand. Okay, all right, so I'm going to switch gears. The flag that I have here today, I am in love with this flag. And God told me I'm not allowed to keep it, which is always a bummer. But this is a multi-silk. This is one of our bendy sword and shields. So you can see it has, it's not really, it's a double layer, but it's not really. What it is it's this shield shape, which is 55 inch by 55 inch. It's in the 8 mummy. And then it has a 2-yard streamer attached to it. This is the length of our normal streamer flags. And so you get that little extra movement of the, and I call it the sword, right? The sword and shield. So that's what these are called. And this particular bendy sword and shield is actually called Mantle of Healing. And the name of the shield portion is Healing Flow, and the name of the sword portion is Healing in His Wings. And so it's a multi-silk word. And so anyway, this is the one that we're going to be ministering with today. So if you want to take a moment, if you have prayer requests, go ahead and put them in. I'm specifically targeting healing today. A number of people have been talking to me about that offline, so that's going to be my focus, as well as also just grace for the waiting and eyes to see what He's doing, you know, in the journey portions. I see a comment popped up. Yes, asking the questions, exactly. Wow, that's that's wild, Amber. That's interesting. So he moved you, but he didn't move you. Interesting. Yeah, it's funny when He does stuff. And, you know, you don't always know why, but that's okay, because He reveals it, you know, over time. Sometimes, and sometimes He doesn't. There's a lot of things I'm not sure we're going to know this side of heaven, but that's okay. This is where trust comes in, right? Because that's a huge part of our faith walk. Okay, so again, if you have prayer requests, now is the moment. I'm going to spend a few minutes in prayer. And so, Father, we just thank You. You are so awesome. You are so awesome. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, actually, He's telling me to do something a little bit different. So I'm actually going to pray quietly in tongues while I turn up the music so you can actually hear the music that I'm sharing over here. And then I'm just going to do some flag ministry. We'll do it this way. I don't even know which song we're on here, but that's okay. For that supernatural expectation for God to move, and grace in the waiting. Just agree in prayer. Hallelujah. Thank You, Father. Hallelujah. Amen, Mary. Amen. Ooh, I love this music. It's so splashy. It's deep. I love it. Well, if you guys don't have any other prayer requests, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up today. But I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Lunchtime live. And in the meantime, happy worshiping. God bless you guys. Have a great day.